when I was executive director at Eastern Mountain, me, Harry, and John Stasio were in conversation with Damian about bringing him up to lead a coaches training program, the first LGBTQ specific coaches training program. And a couple of my classmates, Tucker and Brian, were part of that program. And as we were having those conversations, we needed to have a certain amount of people that was divisible by 3 because this program is set up with triads. And so Damian asked me if I'd be interested in being a part of the program. And he framed it as, Will, listen, even if you never serve as a life coach, even if you never want to go down this path, it'll support you as an executive. And I am an opportunist and, like, you know, as you mentioned, a bit of a shapeshifter, always kind of looking for what's next. And so I said, yeah, why not? Let's do this. And that changed my life. I'm now working as a professional coach. So I really just want to start by honoring Damian for that major impact he had on my life. And I'm really honored and thrilled to have the opportunity to be interviewing him today.
Thank you, and Harry, who hired me. If you wouldn't hire me, that would have not happened. And it's really nice to see here also some of your colleagues. And I have two cohorts. So it's Vito also from cohort number 2. So it's great to see graduates from the program here.
Yeah, and just to say, you know, Dave, I consider you a friend, a mentor, a teacher, and I also just see you as a coach superhero. You're just such a champion for coaching, and that's so apparent in the fact that basically your whole immediate family has become a coach as a result of you. So it's not shocking to say that I became a coach as a result of you. I can't imagine if you're keeping count of all the people that you have brought into this field. But I really see you as a superhero, as a champion for the profession. And that's also apparent in the Goldvarg Institute and all the amazing work that you're doing. And now I really see that in your championing of coaching supervision as a new area of focus. And I actually have had the pleasure and privilege of being supervised by 2 of your students in that program. And I don't know if you know this, but I just started with a 3rd supervisor who's one of your students, Catherine, and we had our first session this last week. So thank you for that impact as well, and for the work that you're doing to really get coaching supervision into the model of coaching in a more integrated, a bigger impact way.
Yeah, thank you. For people who do not know, I am so passionate about coaching that I got both of my parents, both of my brothers, and their wives and girlfriends, all to go through coaching training. My nephew, 3 of my closest friends, but the latest one is the one that I feel the most proud, that is my partner. So Harry, you know, we are having a relationship for 2 years. It took me some work to convince him to come to get trained as a coach. And he went through the program. He decided he doesn't want to be a coach, but still all can benefit from his skills, because I do believe that these coaching skills allow us to have better relationships with everybody.
Absolutely.
We can be effective at listening and at asking questions and being curious and being present. I think that we bring our relationship to the next level.
Absolutely. Yeah. Way to go. Getting him to go through the program and to have those skills. And now you also have a shared language. You know, it's funny, on the group chat, people were talking about the 4 agreements. And I mentioned that it's like one of my Bibles. And I actually have brought it into new relationships. And I say to new boyfriends, I say, I need you to read this book, because I'm going to be referring to it. And so having that common language is really helpful. And I imagine, you know, that has been useful already in your relationship. So that's great. That's great to hear. So let's jump into this conversation about resilience. And I thought it'd be helpful maybe to start with a little context. So I'm curious to hear what you started seeing in the face of COVID. Like, what were clients coming with? What type of energy and what type of issues were you seeing frequently in the beginning stages of the COVID response?
So what I want to share briefly is that I have been a coach for around 25 years, and my background before coaching is as a psychologist, a clinical psychologist, and my PhD is in organizational psychology. So working in companies, organizations to help them to be more effective through leadership development, leadership training and coaching. I have been doing that worldwide. So over the years, I built a network, a global network. And I have worked in China many times. So when COVID came up in China, I got a call from the local chapter of ICF to help them to do a session to help the local Chinese coaches to deal with the stress related to COVID-19. So I was thinking, what can I do? What can I say? So I started doing some research for that presentation. And that was in February, at the end of February. I never thought that I will be doing the same presentation later.
Wow.
And I have been doing what we're going to be talking today. I have been talking about resilience with different groups in different parts of the world for the last 2 months. So I have done many, as a volunteer, many sessions, bringing the conversations to many different groups about how we can be effective at managing the stress of all of the different things you shared today. I think that, Adam, the way that you started today couldn't be a better way to look at all of the strengths and all of the challenges that we're facing, because we can probably identify with everybody else. In one way or another, we all could relate to everybody when everybody was sharing. And the same thing about the nurturing experiences, because in the same way that it's challenging and difficult, also there are opportunities. So how we can look at both. So this is the invitation today, to see, okay, yeah, we do have challenges. I don't know, that was Brad, listening to the news, it made me sick. Sometimes made me sick physically. I can feel the reaction in my body when I hear the latest thing that Trump said, or there is like, when we hear the news, we do have a reaction, emotional, physical, and how do we manage that? So I think it's important to have these spaces to reflect. And one of the things that are important in doing, in having the conversation is in normalizing, in realizing I am not crazy. You know, what's happening to me, not only me, everybody going through the same. And particularly as coaches, we are in a roller coaster in our own lives, and our clients are in their own lives in a roller coaster. So how do we find these two roller coasters when we get together?
Yeah.
And it is challenging. Like, for example, for me, I teach emotional intelligence for many years, and I do believe that I do have a good emotional intelligence. And we all have good emotional intelligence, still we don't have it anymore. So recently I have found myself like very angry and upset. I said, but this is not me. I'm usually not so angry. Why am I so angry? And I say, well, you know, we're all dealing. We have good reasons to be angry. We do all have good reasons to be angry. And how we deal with that. And I do believe that the first is acknowledging and saying there is nothing wrong about being angry. There is nothing wrong about being sad. We are all grieving. We have a lot of losses. The loss is not only about not being able to leave our home. And for example, in the United States, it's even in some ways easier than in other countries. Like I am from Argentina, my accent is from Argentina. My family is in Buenos Aires. They are not allowed to leave their home. So they cannot even go walking. You know, like if they drive, they can take their cars if they are driving in the streets, if they don't have a special permit while they are driving. So in some places are even more complicated, the situations. But the other point that I want to make here is that the first element when we are talking the issues you were asking me, Will, what were the things that people were bringing related to this is, how do I deal with all of these challenges? How do I deal with, for example, loneliness? Like for some people, they are alone at home, and it's very challenging just to be alone. And particularly if there is some loneliness in our life, even before COVID-19. So whatever was before COVID-19 now is enhanced. So if we were feeling a little bit lonely, now we are feeling much more lonelier. Lonely. If we were feeling, dealing with some anxiety issues, now we feel even more anxieties. Whatever was there before now is amplified. So we want to be aware of that. We want to pay attention to that. How is that coming up? How is that showing up in our lives? And instead of feeling ashamed or guilty, it's sometimes important to look for help. Sometimes maybe these groups, these opportunities just to talk to each other and learn from each other. And sometimes it's about going to look for a counselor, a therapist, somebody who's a professional, or even going for a coach. I don't know how many people here who are coaches have your own coach, because my experience, like people know, some people know here, I am the past president of International Coach Federation, and I met many coaches all over the world. And most coaches, they don't have their own coach. So for me, a coach that doesn't have a coach doesn't have any credibility. So how are you going to be coaching others if you don't have your own coach? So I want to invite people here, everyone, to consider, if you're not having a coach, look for one. And I am sure that the Gay Coaching Alliance can help you with that if you're interested.
Absolutely. I love that invitation, and I really appreciate the metaphor of the two roller coasters. And so I see how this conversation, as we talk about resilience and cultivating resilience and dealing with stress, isn't just about how we are supporting our clients in those efforts, but in how we're supporting ourselves as well. I think that's really valuable to have both of those layers happening at the same time. So tell me how you've been defining resilience, because you said you've been having these conversations for months now, and I imagine for some people that's a new concept. And how have you explained it?
So I explain resilience as our ability to manage stress. We all have to manage challenging situations. How do we face them? And there are different ways to do it. But that may also change over time. Sometimes we can be very effective and very positive and optimistic, and then next day we feel really down and we don't feel that we have any energy. So the idea is that one key element of resilience, if I ask everyone here, how effective are you at managing stress? You probably will answer, it depends. It depends what is the issue. It depends how I woke up that day. It depends on many factors. So to the extent that we can be aware of what these factors are, the most effective we're going to be at managing the stress. So the same situation may produce different experiences in different people. Staying at home, maybe for some people something positive, and for some it may be something negative. The experience is the same, but the stressor works differently for each of us. So that's the reason why you were talking about some of your strengths. What may be a strength for one person is not a strength for another. But knowing what are your strengths help you to develop some strategies around that. So for example, we were talking, Brad, about news, the politics. Like my partner, he lost his job. He's in catering, no parties. So he's at home and he spent too much time listening to the news. So I said, don't listen to the news so much. It's better, just regulate what you're listening. Like maybe a little bit in the morning, a little bit at night. Don't spend all day listening to the news because that can drive you crazy. It's like, it can be toxic. It can be toxic. So how we can protect ourselves. So that is very important, is to looking at what are my own personal stressors, what upset me, what takes me out of my balance. We all have in our lives balance and centeredness, and there are things that move us from that space. And for everyone, it's something different. And most of you, if you are coaches, you have done some work on yourself, so we know what is it for us. It's paying attention. Okay, what are the things that take me from my center? What are the things that upset me and make me feel bad? And it's also given us permission to feel our emotions. It's like when I was angry, I said, okay, I'm angry. It's okay to be angry. I am feeling sad about this. Like my parents were supposed to come to visit me. They were not able to come. And I am very sad about that. I mean, being able to be sad about it. I'm sad about this experience. And that have experienced what you need to experience. But then, and this is a technique that I use, and I teach some of my clients too, is I look at the watch and I say, okay, for how long I want to be in this place? You have heard that before saying that. Okay, so I am very angry. I feel very angry. Okay, how long am I going to be angry? 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you let go the anger, because if you keep the anger, it makes you sick. So the idea is we work on managing our emotion, acknowledging them, embracing them, accepting them.
Yep.
and at the same time not staying there for a long time. Just
Yeah.
moving on from, okay, what made me feel good? Okay, let's hear music. Like for me, I like music, that
Mm-hmm.
I like dancing. So if I'm starting to feel kind of down, I say, okay, acknowledge, put the name. I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling down. It's okay for me to feel that way. It's okay
Mm-hmm.
for me to go through this. How long do I want to feel that way for today? Okay, that's enough time. Let's hear some music, some energy.
Yes.
Let's dance, let's move.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to change your state of mind. Now you can say, Damian, that's easy to say, not so easy to do. And it's true. It's not so easy to do. It
Mm-hmm.
requires a lot of work and
Mm-hmm.
effort. So resilience requires work,
Mm-hmm.
requires intention. And sometimes we're more successful than others. Sometimes we can be effective and sometimes we are not as effective, and that's okay.
Mm.
But it's important to know what are our what are the things that strain us, what are the things that make us feel down,
Yeah.
and then what are the strategies that we need to let that go and move on, knowing
Yeah.
that
What?
it's coming.
Sorry to interrupt. What I love about what I'm hearing in this is this dance between allowance, but also choice and creating parameters, right? And so finding that balance and being mindful of the areas that we can have some agency, we can have some change or some capacity to change the way this is occurring for us. And I've certainly talked to many clients and my own sister who lives next door to me about her news diet, right? And reminding folks that the news, their job is to instill fear in us. They want our attention. And the best way to get our attention is to have alarming, scary news flashes, right? And so their job is to hook our attention. And then when our attention gets hooked, we start falling into this fear cycle. And so reminding people that that's what's going on, and making them realize that they don't have to just default to the way that things are, that they can make different choices, right? Just like you said, like make a different choice around being sad for 3 days. No, I'm going to be sad for this amount of time. I'm going to put a parameter, boundary there. So I'm curious to hear more about choice. Like, what are some of the choices and strategies that we can integrate into this new normal as we face some of these challenges that seem to be constantly changing from one day to the next?
Well, I really like the focusing on choice, because this is the work that we do as coaches, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
work with our clients so they can see choices where they are not seeing choices.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a key work that we need to do too. What are the choices? What are the choices we're not seeing? What are the things that we don't know that we don't know
Mm-hmm.
that may be in our way? But I do believe that choices requires also, before you do the choice, require intention.
Mm-hmm.
So for you to choose, first you need to have the intention to choose.
Mm-hmm.
And that also requires awareness. So it's like
Yes.
one after the other. So
Yes.
for
Yes.
you to be able to choose between options, first you
Mm-hmm.
need to have the intention. And
Mm-hmm.
before you have the intention, you need to have the awareness. So I think that the first
Mm-hmm.
thing being aware is asking, okay, what's really going on here?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the work that we do with our clients. It's about building awareness. What's really going on? You know, what are your stressors? What are your strategies? What are already how you can use yourself as a resource? What are the things that you don't know that you know? How do you forgot in the past that you have resources to do things? So
Mm-hmm.
what things sometimes from the past you can bring now that can be helpful? So
Mm-hmm.
what are the resources over the year that you have built, the classes, the training, things that you have worked over the year that you now forget that you have done that you can use?
Mm-hmm.
So it's about to be able to make choices. It's about reminding our clients and reminding ourselves
Mm-hmm.
what is all of the work that we have done over the years that we can use now.
Mm-hmm.
And that requires maybe going back to some old documents, old classes, old books,
Mm-hmm.
different things that we have used in the past that they can be helpful now, that can inspire us. Like we're talking about, we're talking the 4 agreements in the chat room. That's a book that I really love. And there are many books like that that inspire us. So now is a time, we need that. We need inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
What can be a source of inspiration? I was telling to my partner, please at night let's watch only comedies. I don't want
Nice.
any dramas. Okay,
Yeah.
we have enough dramas. Be sure. Let's have a good time. Let's bring humor. Let's bring some
Yeah.
lightness to everything that we are dealing. But
Mm.
let's just watch comedies. Let's just have fun. Let's laugh. Um,
I love that. I love that. And I agree. That piece around choice, when we are feeling out of control, that's when we especially forget that we have choice. When we're told we have to do this and we can't do this. And, that's when we start to feel like the walls are coming closer together. And so I absolutely agree that that is a piece that is so important right now, is helping our clients become aware of choice and being aware of it ourselves. I know for me, sometimes I've been feeling really steady, and then something will happen. I'll be in some kind of class and I'll break and I'll like sob, like really major release. And so that's been a thing for me, is realizing that I need to do that periodically, especially during this time, is actually give myself those opportunities to like really cry it out. And so that's been one of the strategies for me, is like taking those breathwork classes or being in those spaces that will give me that opportunity to release. And I'm curious to hear about some of your self-care practices. So you said like doing some of this comedy stuff, watching comedies. What else has been supporting you through the pandemic?
well, I want to share what I have been doing, and I also start doing that as a result of talking to a colleague of mine. She's a
Mm,
psychologist,
mm,
and I asked her, when all of your patients go to you in therapy, what are the main things that people are saying, and what are the main strategies that you're sharing? And she said there are two things that I work as a therapist working with all of my clients right now. One is about habits,
mm.
having habits. Like even though we're not moving from home, in the morning still wake up and have a shower. Whatever works for you, make it a habit. So having habits
Yes.
really is something that is helping me, and it's also I think a good strategy to manage these challenges of being at home all day. The second one is about focusing on what you can control. So there
Mm,
are things we cannot control, and we focus on that we cannot control. It's much more uh, effective focusing, okay, what is what I can control? Separate, distinguish between what I can control and what I cannot control.
mm,
Focus on what I can control and what can I do about that.
mm,
So that is a good question for ourselves, to ask ourselves what I can control, what I cannot control. And I cannot control many things happening in the world, but I
mm,
can control if I am or not going to go to the store. So I tell my partner, okay, are we sure that we really need to go to the store? Let's not go to the store if we don't have to. Let's only go if we really, really need to. These kind of choices that we can control.
mm,
So in the habit, we go to walk every day for 35 minutes around the neighborhood. So and this is every day, we know we're doing that. No matter what, it is
mm,
our walk.
mm.
And this is also a good opportunity for me and my partner to spend time together and talk and see how is the day going. And for me, ask him to give me a report about the news he was hearing, all day. So we have these habits and and also, like I wrote an article that I want to recommend everybody
Mm,
that Arnie published in our last newsletter. I don't know if
mm,
anybody here got the chance to see it, but in the Gay Coaching Alliance newsletter, I wrote a brief article about resilience, about what we're talking today. And I was talking in that article about 4 strategies, 4 areas.
mm,
One is about taking care of your body. We're talking before, what do we need to do to sleep well, to
mm,
eat well,
mm.
to drink water, exercise, everything related to taking care of our body. That's
And
important.
again, that's an area of control, right? We have control over that still, so we can be even more mindful and more intentional about that.
The
And what were
other,
some of the others?
that one is the body, the other is the mind. What do we do with our
Mm,
mind? Are we spending too much time on the news or on things that maybe not be good for us, or sometimes when people are addicted to gaming and spend too much time in gaming, or in Grindr, spending all day in Grindr, maybe not such a good idea.
No.
But it's about what do you do with your mind? You keep your mind, that's the message. Keeping our mind working, keeping our mind creative, keeping our mind learning. So that's the reason why I'm telling people, if you are not working, you're not busy, take some classes. It's a great opportunity now for learning. Take classes, learn new languages, learn programs. Nowadays, everything is available in the internet. You don't even need to pay many times for many trainings. But in the same way that we take care of our body, we need to take care of our mind.
And again, it gives you an opportunity to shift your focus, right? Instead of spending your time focusing on the information that the news is feeding us, we can create a different focus for the information that we're receiving.
And then also taking care of our body, taking care of our mind, taking care of our soul. It depends. People here may have different beliefs, but if you're not religious, you're just spiritual, meditating. Meditating, how do you take care of your relationship with the universe, or with God, the universe, or whatever your belief? Do whatever you need to take care of these three components: the body, the mind, the soul, and also our emotions and our relationships as other areas we want to pay attention to. We can be physically away and feel close, or we can be in the same place and feel far. So the idea is how you create connections. So for example, what we do with my family, they are in Argentina, and sometimes we do Zoom meetings where my father, my mother, my two brothers with their family, we all get together and we all chat. And when we do the walks in the neighborhood in the last 10 minutes, my partner knows that this is my chance just to check with my parents. So I call both of my parents to see how they are doing, because I know they are by themselves all day, at least 5 minutes, somebody thinking of them. So it's about spending time thinking about also taking care of our emotions, our connections with other people. So these are all key elements that help us to navigate these challenging times.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. And I love the routine piece. I definitely have been suggesting that to a lot of people and using it myself, because it's such a great way to feel grounded when we're feeling uncertain. When our nervous system knows that every day I'm going to wake up, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this other thing, it makes it easier to be stable and regulated in the face of all the rest of the uncertainty around us. So I could ask a couple other questions, but I am aware that we are around a quarter till. So I'm wondering if we want to switch to Q&A. How does that feel? Let me just see.
And if anybody have any questions, maybe we can involve everybody to write questions in the chat room.
Yep,
so
I love that.
Write the chat, a question that you may have as a result of this dialogue in the chat room, and then we can answer them.
Beautiful.
Or sharing something you want to share, like a strategy, or if you want to just open your microphone and just share something that works for you that may be helpful for everyone. At the end of the day, it's about what strategies can be helpful.
Damian, a couple of habit stories very quickly that really helped clients. I've been running a lot of adjusting anchors workshops, which is really reconnecting with those things that provide you stability. Had one man who for 25 years has been commuting into Wall Street in a suit. And for his first 2 weeks at home, he'd walk into his home office and feel totally lost. And then one day he put his suit on again, and that was the trigger to help him start feeling back in control.
Awesome. So
he said he added another habit, which is before he leaves his home office, he texts his wife that he's on his way home. And then a client who just would listen to podcasts on the subway, going back and forth to work. And home office, he'd get up from the breakfast table and go into the office. And again, getting up from the breakfast table, sitting down and listening to podcasts for 20 minutes was what he needed to start settling back in.
Brian, I've been seeing a lot of that too. Folks who, especially on the East Coast, were really dependent on their commute. You know, it's like there is that silver lining. Oh, we don't have to commute anymore. But for some folks, that was a huge piece of their self-care, their daily self-care, is they knew that they'd have this 40 minutes, 20 minutes between work and life. And so I've been making similar invitations, like how can you create a little place that is like the train? You know, can you eat your little Doritos that you used to eat on the train, or whatever it is, so that you can have that trigger, that switch? So yeah, I
Yeah,
love
especially
that.
in New York City apartment where the commute is now 15 feet.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a great
Exactly.
story. By the way, I have allergies, not a cold. And
Oh,
we were talking about the gardening. And I think that the other piece here is that I was doing some sessions for California Men's Gathering. It's a group of gay men that meet
thank
and
you for bringing that up. Yeah.
have sessions 3 times a year in different parts of California. I've been involved with them for 25 years. And I always do workshops and activities. And I have been running a support group that came up as one of these sessions on resilience. And there are some issues coming up that are unique to the gay community that I want to start bringing to people's attention. One that came up is this issue about loneliness. That was before, loneliness was an issue before COVID-19, not being in a relationship. But now people wondering, like people were saying, I am going to die alone. You know, you listen to the news and many people cannot see their families, cannot access to that. It's kind of sad and it's very scary and pretty real, pretty real. So, you know, let's also, it's like as coaches, we want to have like a balanced perspective. For one part, we want to be supportive and we want to deal with hope. We want to be positive. But then there is this other part that is really dark. And many people, like sometimes, for example, with my partner at one point, he was really down about not being able to work. It's not helping for him to tell him, okay, you know, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. He didn't know what he wanted to listen. He didn't know what he needed. Can everybody see this? Not everybody needs to hear this positive outcome in the future. Sometimes what the only people need is just to vent, just to share what is it for them. And I think as coaches, the best we can do is just to support them without necessarily going to that positive place. So I want to bring this to conversation because I think as coaches, we can be much more supportive just to listening than telling people positive comment that may not be helpful at all. As Will was saying before, I am a trainer, I train coaches, and it's a really difficult time to train coaches because clients come with very heavy stuff.
Oh yeah.
It's really challenging. So I found myself is that in my coaching program now, when I'm training coaches, I include supervision as part of the training. That's something that you didn't experience in your programs. Because the coaches need to talk about what's happening to them.
Yes.
Working with their clients it's heavy. It's talking about that. And part of my training is to tell them, I teach you, for people who have worked with me, you know, I am an expert in the ICF core competency model. I wrote a book about it. And I'm very, that's one of my specialties. It's like following a structure and following competencies. And I tell them, forget that, forget everything. This is when you're with your client, you're just with the person in front of you, don't care about markers, competencies, forget all of that stuff, just be with the person and listen. And don't worry about asking, what will be the measures of success for the session today? You know,
Yes.
This is not what we want.
We don't need to go there. Yeah. So a couple of questions have popped up. One certainly related to the piece around positivity in some ways, which is that there is kind of this perceived pressure, right? Well, I'll just read it, that there's been some pushback from people who are saying improve your life in lockdown, and they prefer people to acknowledge that they're just staying vaguely sane enough. How can we help these people who are feeling that COVID pressure?
Well, sometimes it's about asking them what they need from us. We don't have a crystal ball, so we don't know what clients need from the coach. So people need different things. So sometimes I may ask my clients, okay, what do you need from me? And sometimes they may say, okay, I want you to challenge my thinking. Okay, let's go there. Sometimes people would say, I want to just talk today. And just being able, they may not have anybody else to share what's going on for them.
Can I
So
pick up on that and just...
Coaches now have a very important role in society because with everything that we are experiencing, coaches are the perfect professionals to support us, normalize, validate what we go through without maybe many times it's not necessary going to a therapist. You know, all of our experiences is part of what we're living. So I do believe that coaches can provide that space of listening, of holding the space, validating, normalizing, telling somebody, yes, it's normal to be angry. Yes, it's normal to be sad. Matt, you have a question?
Matthew.
Yeah, so just to sort of go a little bit further on my point, I think it's because a lot of coaches who are active on social media send out all of these, why didn't you try this book today? Why don't you watch this TED Talk? And these people are bombarded with the you should be doing this messages. It's not in the coaching space. So I think there's that, just bringing up the fact that sometimes we have to put up a, it's okay, have a day in bed. It's fine.
And Matt, thank you for bringing this up because there is a part that we want to be inspiration. We want to inspire people. So when you do that, it's one of the ways that you inspire your clients by sharing books or quotes or things that will make people feel good. Now, people are different parts of different places in the spectrum. Some people need that. Some other people just need validation and normalizing. So I think our job as coaches is to be able to understand where are the clients coming from. And they may need different things based where they are. But what we cannot do is try be with everybody in the same place. Inspiring and supporting and being a cheerleader may not work for some clients. So that's what I want to bring to people's attention. Is that sometimes people don't want to hear that. What they want is you to be there to say, I hear you. I see how difficult and challenging is what you're going through.
Yeah, meeting them where they are and providing what they need. Yeah, beautiful. Tucker had a question about dreams. I'm wondering if Damian, you've ever used dream work in your practice. So he's asking that dreams can bring up feelings and memories, and wondering if you've experienced that or have any strategies around supporting people in that area.
I don't do a lot of work particularly around dreams, Tucker, but if that is happening to you and you're a writer, so take advantage of that. Just do a lot of journaling, because something interesting can come up from that. But most of the time, our dreams are a result of our daily activities. So what happened at night when we go to sleep, something that happened during the day, stay there and bring in images and experiences that are related to what happened during the day, or fears or unconscious desires. So it can be different things. So you want to take note of that and see what they are. Like for me, something happened to me when I watch movies at night. Then I go to sleep, and then what happened in the movie came up in my dreams. Like it feels, and sometimes it's not good. So
I was cuddling with men in my dreams last night. Cuddling, it was PG, but it was interesting because it was like I so needed it. I woke up this morning, I was like, oh, that felt really good. Can I go back to sleep?
It's like the dream that we don't want to wake up. And
yeah.
In the moment, the best part is when we wake up. I said, no, wait, wake up. I want to stay in that dream.
Exactly. Any other questions from the crew? I'm seeing that we're at let's see, we're at 58. We're at 158. Yeah, and I've heard of the Zoom fatigue thing quite a bit too. We've got one of the solutions is, oh, well, jump on a Zoom meeting if you're feeling isolated. Go have a Zoom happy hour, a Zoom this. I personally am on Zoom for probably an average of 6 to 8 hours a day. And sometimes I'm like, I'm not going to that Zoom game night, like I'm done. So any thoughts on being Zoomed out?
Well, there are different ways to participate in Zoom. Certain people don't know all of the options that we have. So for example, right now, I am looking at everybody because I am curious about people's expressions. But then I will switch from everybody's small things to each other, one person talking. So you are not all day looking at small windows. And then sometimes I would turn off the monitor and I would just be doing something else and I would just be listening. So there are different ways to manage being creative using Zoom. So we don't have to be just facing Zoom all day. And it depends on the person, depends on the relationships. Sometimes it's necessary for us to be present, sometimes it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's helpful. I was happy to discover the hide self view. And I've been using that, and I can really just focus in on the person rather than seeing myself talking to the person, which is how I was using it before. And I also try to, at some point, intentionally connect. Like I energetically, like kind of bring my energy into their space. And that's been an effective strategy for me too, because sometimes it can be challenging to stay focused, especially when you've been staring at the computer for, multiple hours. So just using that intentionality has been supportive for me.
But also what is important is every hour to stand up, not only just the eyes, but also the whole body. So for example, what I will do I do one-day trainings. So I split it and I make everybody to stand up and dance. Or
cool.
do movement exercises. So you bring the body and you work with the body too. So it's not all day sitting in front of the computer too. So you are creative about how you use the body.
Yeah, my stand-up desk, I kind of have like two stations and I kind of switch between them, and the stand-up thing is super helpful, and I feel like I can move around and I can, use my body a little more, and that my energy's up. So having those options has been helpful. I also yesterday was on a men's council, and this guy has set up an office outside in his backyard, and he's like doing all his work outside in his little outdoor office. It's so cool. So getting creative about our space too.
I am working on that, seeing how I bring this to my garden, see how it works, because of the internet. But it's about being creative. And we didn't talk about that. Creativity really helps to deal with stress. So creativity in many different ways in our lives. If we can think how we can be creative, that can make a difference. Creativity from journaling, to art, to music, in whatever expressions. I do believe that then there is an opportunity there. I also, what I want to offer, because we know we need to start wrapping up, is I have in my YouTube channel under my name around 150 videos, and there are a lot of resources there. Half are in English and half in Spanish. I don't know if I'm bilingual here, so if you're bilingual, you have more to choose from. But I have a lot of resources there with different sessions on different topics related to coaching. There is one on resilience. It's a short session that is also, there is a link in the newsletter. But there are many topics related to coaching that can be of interest. You can get some value from that for free. And I am also, you don't know that, but I train programs for coaches and supervisors. And what we are doing now is every month we have free demonstrations. So you want to see experienced coaches to coach following the SCF model, and experienced supervisors supervising coaches. These are for free, and these are the last Thursday of the month. You can just register and come, and if you're interested, send me. I will put here my email so I can send you the information. So if you want to register and take advantage of very experienced and effective professionals showing how they work doing coaching and supervision, I think these are good learning opportunities.
Hi, this is Harry, and we actually have about 10 more minutes. We end at 5:30, so we can go till 5:10 or 5:15 if people have questions. And I have a question for you.
Yes.
So the day's topic was resilience, because everybody thinks that this is really important. If that had not been the topic, what do you think is the second most crucial topic that we would need to focus on?
Harry, I love you because you always make me think. I don't have an automatic response. I had to think about this one.
Yeah, you're a good thinker.
I think the first one will be managing stress. The second one would be for me, this is my take, how we reinvent ourselves based on what we're going through. So we all need to deal with stress. We all have this challenge in front of us. People are wondering, how is it going to be the world after this? Is it going to be different?
Yes.
You have some people that is telling you, oh, this world is going to be a better place. And then people are some people that say, oh, I don't think so. You have different opinions about that. But you may ask yourself, who do you want to be after this? What is this opportunity to reinvent yourself? So this is what I am working in my own supervision with my supervisor, how I am reinventing myself and who I want to show up after this.
One thing that the older men on this call have, the younger men don't, is a frame of reference. I have two personally. One is the AIDS crisis, and we were in a community that was all together, and we thought it would never end.
Wow.
And we had no time to deal with the stress. It was one on top of the other. And then I have the Vietnam War, which was in my town. It was people were dying that we knew. So we got through that. And we got through the AIDS crisis, and many, many people died. So younger men, younger people, but men on this call don't have that frame of reference. So there's almost like they don't have the built-in confidence that, yes, I can get through this. How do we help them come to terms to have this trust in themselves that they will get through this?
Great question.
Does anybody have, maybe other people have some take on that?
Well, I can speak from the younger perspective. It was just to say that having folks in my life who have that kind of experience, and to be able to have conversations and to know that there is a possibility of the other side, has been really helpful for me. I mean, I feel blessed that I have folks in my life who are elders, I would consider. So cultivating those relationships and initiating those conversations, I think has been really valuable for me.
So for me, I'm a little bit older than you are, Will, but for me, mine are, I was actually laid off from my job on September 10th of 2001. And then and so I was already reeling from, oh my gosh, I lost my job, to the next day being 9/11. And then, you know, for me, it really put things in perspective. But I still remember then, what am I going to do? You know, because then people were, you were starting to see the companies lay off, and, you know, not even to the degree. I mean, I just look at the news this week about another 3 million people last week applying for unemployment. I mean, it's just staggering. But, you know, for me, I think about that and the fact that, you know, I went through the job loss and then the 9/11 and then just recovering from that. And just knowing that, you know, because of my fortitude and my, you know, meditation and belief, that I know that the universe is going to help me get through it. So that's kind of what I'm in my Facebook Lives that I've been doing, in my conversations with clients, and the services I'm doing are just more about how to keep all of that in perspective, and that, you know, a lot of it, I think, is about attitude. But there is, you know, this great reminders to see that other people have gone through. I mean, people that have lived through World War II, and you know, just some of the other milestones. And I agree about reinventing, you know, ourselves and how we are going to be different, because I've actually started thinking about that as well. So.
Yeah, Harry, and I've actually, the 9/11 piece you reminded me, David, has been something I've been kind of drawing on too, because I was in New York City during that time. And part of what is helpful for me is recognizing the value of that experience in terms of how I'm now navigating through this one. And so actually, maybe a question for you, Damian, is in what ways can this resilience training support us post-pandemic? In what ways can we bring what we're going through into this next way of life in a good way?
Well, I think that's a question we need to ask our clients. If they can choose how they want to reinvent themselves, what are their choices, going back to choice, knowing that the future doesn't have to be as the past. So the question will be for each of our clients and for us, what did we learn from this? What is this learning opportunity? And not all of the learning lessons are really pleasant. What did we learn from this, and how we use that information to reinvent ourselves for the future? And there is an element, Harry, what you were sharing, is that if I ask you, based on your experience, going through these two important experiences, what helped you, and based on your experience and your wisdom, you know, I respect you very much. I consider you one of the wisest persons that I know. What would you say? What would you say, Harry, in terms of what did you learn that you think can help the new generations?
Well, it's easy to answer this question because I've been sober for 33 years, and I have a spiritual practice, and I've been practicing for 33 years how to live a day at a time. It drives me crazy sometimes, but that's the wisdom of 12-step programs. At the core of it, they're asking you not to be sober for a life, but for a day, and how to do, and all of us can do something for one day and do it well. And it's not that it's easy, but it's clear to me. This is the ground. And you actually said the serenity prayer, but in a different way. Separate what you can change from what you can't change. Put your focus on what you can change. And the other thing, you just have to let it go. You can't change the government. You can't change right now, this, that. No. And do it in your own domestic way, your home way. You described this very well about how you're getting through this with your partner. And it's in minutia, you know, we take this walk and we do this and we do it again tomorrow. Yeah. So thank you for referring to that.
I love that. Yeah, the serenity prayer is definitely useful during this time.
And one thing that maybe I want to add to this is this, and I did a lot of work during the HIV/AIDS crisis. That was my work for many years. And something that I learned is that you cannot do this alone. You really need a community. So I do believe that that's something that we may remind our clients and ourselves, how we create community. Like
Yes.
it is an example, being part of that.
And that wasn't so lonely as this experience for people, for everybody. I think it's lonely. It's only for me. And I'm with 8 other guys right now. But it's still lonely. And as you said, take a look at it before this. Was I lonely, or was the client lonely? And most likely it's true. You know, loneliness is a big part of our culture that it goes unrecognized, and why we behave in such ways. Like, and you mentioned Grindr. You know, people do that because they're lonely, and it's at least some kind of connection. Thanks, Will. And it's time to go back to Adam.
Okay, beautiful. Well, we'll send it back to you, Adam. It's been an incredible privilege Pleasure and honor, Damian. Thank you.
Thank you for coming with you. Thank you for the questions. Harry, great seeing you. Thanks everybody for coming and participating.